Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do, cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
'Tis the season for all your holiday favorites, like A Very Jonas Christmas Movie and Home Alone on Disney+.
Should I burn down the joint? I don't think so.
Then Hulu has National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
We're all in for a very big Christmas treat.
All of these and more streaming this holiday season. And right now, save big with our special Black Friday offer. Bundle Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 1 year. Savings compared to current regular monthly price. Ends 12/1. Offer for ad-supported Disney Plus Hulu bundle only. Then $12.99 a month or then current regular monthly price. 18 plus terms apply.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How We're the podcast. And it's not often that we have a midweek where we are looking to see how Sunderland might react to a defeat. And we have to go back to the beginning of October since we last had to do this. So it might be nice to get an insight into what the feeling is around the Sunderland squad at the moment. And thankfully for us, we have just the person to speak with us today. He's not only a voice that you hear regularly when it comes to the manager's press conference, where he always provides the out-of-the-box question during those proceedings. But he's also spent some time with a couple of players recently, which means we can only be speaking to the brilliant Andy Sixsmith. Hello, Andy.
I've been called worse, Chris. Don't you worry about. Hello, mate.
I'll do that again. It's Andy Sixsmith. Hello, Andy.
I preferred the other way, to be honest. Hello, mate. Yes.
And you know what? I deserve for that to be kept in, so I'm keeping that in. How's it going, Andy?
Never coming back on this podcast ever again after such an intro. No, all good, mate. All good. I think we're both getting over the lurgy at the moment, and that's not a metaphor for Sunderland's defeat to Fulham at the weekend. But I was honestly delighted when just before I started, I was like reminded by my fiance. She goes, "It's your hat trick, isn't it? Now on the podcast." I was like, "Well, in that case, Chris is going to be greeting me with a match ball signed by all the Roker Report team. So my address is."
Well, I can only apologise that you don't get a match ball, Andy. But yes, it is. I mean, I'll tell you what. Let's just assume it's a perfect hat trick. You know, one with the right, one with the left, and one with the head. Eh?
Nothing about me is ever perfect, mate. So I'll take that as a complete makeup for you butchering my surname. But you're not the first. You certainly won't be the last. So don't worry about it.
You know what? It's possibly one of the most easiest ones I've got as well to introduce, and I screwed it up. But especially with all the Sunderland players we've had to learn this season, I mean, we've taken some stick for not getting their names right straight off. But
same, mate. Same. But, don't worry about it.
But, yeah. but anyway, I mean, now we're in the main course of the season, as Register Briss said last week, with his meal analogy. I mean, how are you finding the routine of hopping between Sunderland and Newcastle and taking it all in this season?
Well, he left me very, very hungry at the end of last week's press conference. I've got to be honest, coming up with main course analogies and everything. You know what? Loving it, Chris. Absolutely loving it. It's such a weird thing for me. I think I said this on the last podcast, the fact that, you know, obviously for 8 years working for Premier League, I just had Newcastle to cover as obviously being the only North East Premier League team. And now the fact that you guys are up here as well and the job that you guys are doing. I mean, look, we'll come on to Fulham, I'm sure, and we'll talk about the Fulham defeat in a second. But the fact that the mood around Sunderland is just so good. And I was actually saying this to my camera operator just yesterday. We sat down with a Sunderland player yesterday, which I'm sure I'll come on to in a little bit of detail. Not a load of detail, but a little bit later on. And I said to him, you know what? It's a breath of fresh air. I've got to be honest, and sorry, Sunderland fans, I've got to say that the Newcastle players are absolutely fantastic to deal with and have been for years. But having spent a bit of time around the Academy of Light and around the Stadium of Light on match days and everything, it's incredible to meet the Sunderland players, but also realise just how lovely they all are. There is no exception so far. I was waiting outside one of the interview rooms yesterday, and there's Granit Xhaka comes up and has a quick chat with me. Noah Siddiqui had a quick chat. Eliza Mayenda as well. These are players I've met once, twice, maybe max, and they're coming up and just having a chat. And it's not show. It's not show. It's not for PR. They're just genuinely good people. And that's what I've found so wonderful of working around Sunderland so far this season. And, like I keep saying, long may it continue. I think it well might. It's rare a prediction of mine might come into fruition. But having said in July that I thought Sunderland would stay in the Premier League, 19 points from 12 games isn't exactly a terrible return so far. So, touch wood. But no, it's been brilliant, mate. It's been fantastic. It's kept me busy, kept me on my toes. But it's been absolutely sensational so far. And the big question is, as a Sunderland fan asked me the other week, what the heck do you do on the 14th of December then?
Yeah. Well,
I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Yeah, well, I will touch on that before we finish up. But yeah, you talked about when we last spoke, and that was after the third game of the season, which was the first of 3 international breaks we've had this season, of course. You've been rather busy since then. But if I said then after 3 games that Sunderland would be 7th in the table towards the end of November, 3 points behind Man City, point ahead of Spurs, Man United, Liverpool, you would have thought I was pushing it a bit if I said that.
I don't know. Is it such a big achievement being ahead of Spurs and Manchester United these days? But yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, no, I mean, you wouldn't have thought that. I think many a Sunderland fan out there would have been quite content with, being 13th, 14th in the Premier League table and a few points above the relegation zone. But I think we need to ignore placings and actually look at the points total, because it is such a congested Premier League this season, Chris, especially in that mid-table. You're starting, obviously, Wolves, they're starting to cut adrift. I mean, 2 points after 12 games, that is serious relegation form. And if Wolves hadn't done this for a season or two, I would immediately be writing them off completely right now, although I think they're quite close to the precipice anyway. But then even Burnley are starting to get a cut adrift a little bit now. Leeds are starting to fall into it. So rather than looking at the placings around, you're looking at the points total that Sunderland have amassed. And 19 points from 12 games. I mean, I know Regis keeps saying 40 points is the magic marker, and it might very well prove to be the case. But you're pretty much halfway there. And I know, look, can I just get a rant off my chest straight away? I am sick of people saying, but they've got a tough spell in December. Look at the games in December. Two things to point out. One, any game in the Premier League, arguably apart from Wolves at home at the moment, is a very, very tough game in the Premier League. But most importantly, they're all tough spells. Like, even when you go into a tough spell, arguably, what does that mean? That you're going to come out of it and you're going to go into an easier spell again. You're going to have that. And look, Sunderland might not pick up many points in December. I still think they'll pick up quite a few. And they've got Leeds at home, obviously, on the 28th, which I think is a very, very tasty fixture indeed. But it just baffles me completely how people are, even with 19 points after 12 games, people are looking at Sunderland and going, they'll go through a bad patch. Yeah, I'm sure they will, but I'm sure they'll go through another good patch as well. And with 19 points already in the bank, it's the insurance you want. So, yeah, wonderful start. I didn't think it was after only 3 games that I was last on the podcast, but it was already a pretty decent start then. And obviously since then, the Chelsea win down at Stamford Bridge was quite incredible. I'll tell you a story about that in a second. And then the Arsenal draw, which naturally I think has to go down as the performance of the season so far from Sunderland, given the way that Arsenal are playing, given the way that they are firm favourites for the Premier League title. I thought that was really, those 2 games were the games that showed Sunderland had arrived back and belonged back in the Premier League. I asked Chris Rigg about that the other week, and he said that was the day, I think, when we looked at it and went, we really belong here, not just surviving, but thriving in the Premier League as well. Yeah. And it's been an absolute joy to witness, Matt. A joy to witness.
Well, that's it. Well, let's go through some of the people you've spoken to since then, because you spoke to quite a few people. And let's go into that Chelsea game, because actually I think you spoke to Wilson Isidore ahead of that game, actually. And he talked about the confidence they had in going to Stamford Bridge and getting a result, which I think tells a story in itself. Because, the national media at that time, I think, thought the bubble was going to burst when we went to Chelsea.
Yeah, they did. Look, I've got to be honest. I think I've said this before, but one of my favourite footballers to sit down with, not just at Sunderland, but anywhere, is Wilson Isidore. He's just an absolute a hoot to sit down with, but just a real good person as well. And I always have a great time. We've actually got something to shoot with him this afternoon, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. And yeah, you're right. When we stop talking about how beautiful a moment he had against Brentford when obviously his daughter was born, it was his birthday that week, and then he scored the last minute winner against Brentford, which was just still one of my stories of the season so far in the Premier League. When we stopped talking about that and we stopped pretty much tearing up in an interview, which I was very, very close to doing, I have to admit, he talked about how the fact that, look, we're going down to Stamford Bridge. Yes. Is it a big ground in the Premier League? Yes. Have Chelsea been there, done it, got the T-shirt? Yes. Are we fearful? No. Why should we be? Why should we be? And I'll tell you, I'll text Wilson and ask him if he's got the lottery numbers, because that man knew something I didn't that day. And I'll be honest, Chris, I hold my hands up. I was looking at that game and thinking a draw would have been a really good result down at Stamford Bridge. I know Chelsea fans would turn around and say, we've got so many injuries. You've got a squad of 96 people, like, of all internationals. So that was no excuse. So to go there and not just, let's not beat around the bush here, not just scrape a win. That was a deserved win as well. I mean, I wasn't there at Stamford Bridge. I was at St James's Park that day covering whoever Newcastle played. I think it was Fulham. I literally left my seat in the media area at 1-1, went inside to go and prepare for my post-match interview with Bruno, I think, at Newcastle. And literally one of the Newcastle staff came over and went, have you seen the score at Stamford Bridge? And I went, eliminate! Chelsea will have nicked it last second. They haven't deserved that at all from what I've been told from our reporters down at Stamford Bridge. He went, no, Sunderland have scored. Talby's gone and won it for them. I was like, oh my God, that was the moment where it just clicked and you thought, yeah, they're right there. So Wilson, yeah, look, the confidence is flowing through the squad at the minute, Chris. It's flowing, regardless of the result at the weekend, it's still there. The fact that this team genuinely believes that they can go anywhere in the Premier League or take on anyone in the Premier League and beat them. And if you've got that confidence, and it is bred by the till the end motto. Sunderland are never out of it, even when, let's face it, they weren't particularly good on Saturday. I thought it was one of the weaker performances of the season, which they're more than entitled to throw in every now and again after the start that they've had. But even on a game like that, when Raul Jimenez scores after 84 minutes, you're still thinking, and I imagine every fan is still thinking, 90 plus minutes, could still do it. And all right, maybe they didn't do it on Saturday, but it just breeds confidence left, right, and centre. And you can see every single time I sit down with these players one-to-one that they aren't just saying that for lip service, Chris. They genuinely believe it. They believe in that confidence, whether it's the message that's coming down from Regis, whether it's the message that's coming down from Luciano, whether it's the message coming across from the captain, Granit Xhaka, who I'm sure we'll speak about. It's one of those messages that is literally being hammered into them on a daily basis. Be confident in your abilities. Be confident in what you can do in this Premier League, because Sunderland are here to stay and Sunderland belong here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the Fulham game, after 82 minutes, I thought we were going to get all 3 points with a late goal. But
yes.
But another person you spoke to in that run was Nodi Michele. Especially,
Yes.
I think you spoke to him after his goal in the win over Wolves. But he seems great for an interview to start with. But seems like a really good fella. I saw Guy Mowbray say that he plays happy football. But the interesting one, you talked to him after our win at Stamford Bridge when he was just looking at the fans and taking it all in. And it's incredible the amount of emotion these players have for the club after just a few months.
I tell you now, right, a couple of things. First of all, Guy just always seems to say the right thing. And describing Nodi Michele as playing happy football, just got it absolutely nailed on. He's literally the best in the business, this guy. But Nodi, yeah. I feel like I'm going to kind of fill up my quota of favourite moments of this season with literally Sunderland, essentially, this season. I mean, Newcastle beating Manchester City on Saturday night was quite nice as well. But Nordy, yeah, that answer that he gave me, and I genuinely, Chris, I always highlight my questions at the start, and I think I'm going to get a good reply out of that one because it's an interesting sort of question. This was one where I was a bit like, I think he might just, kind of flat bat it off and just say, look, it was a great result. And obviously the fans were celebrating. I just wanted to watch them for a bit. But to turn round and say what he said about the fact that he was thinking about all the hardships that Sunderland have been through, this is a guy, like you rightly say, who's just joined in the summer. He's been at PSG, he's been at all of it, Bayer Leverkusen, he's been at all of these clubs, that have been in the Europe, have been in Champions League. But he knew about the history of Sunderland. He knew about what Sunderland have been through as a football club recently, historically. And to think that even in the midst of such chaos and such joy at Stamford Bridge, where you've just beaten, European champions numerous times over in their own backyard, to think that he has the presence of mind and the character and the personality to be looking up at all your fans and thinking of all of those hardships and thinking, you know what? I'm blooming delighted that we've been able to give them a moment that they can go and celebrate like that. I just think that's the measure of a man. That's the measure of a human being. And I imagine Nordy, and this is to take nothing away from Nordy, I imagine quite a few players were actually, thinking along those lines as well, because that just seems to be the kind of attitude amongst the club. It's not just what we are doing for us as players. It's what we're doing and what we're doing for the club. It's what we're doing for the community and the fans. There seems to be such a strong bond between the players, whether they have been here for years like Chris Rigg, Dan Neil, Luke O'Nien, Anthony Patterson, or whether they've been here 4 months, 5 months like Granit Xhaka, Nordy Wilson, not Wilson, but you know what I mean. Like the players who have joined in the summer, you can list them off. It just seems to be a common thread amongst them. And that is something that you can't qualify or quantify in points. You can't quantify in terms of Premier League placings. You can just say that is the sort of factor that keeps a side in the Premier League. Not just that, but allows them to actually move up the Premier League as well. And Nordy epitomised that. Nordy embodied that day. I loved speaking to him after he scored his first goal against Wolves when he said he was doing a celebration. I still don't know what it was, but to his girlfriend in the crowd, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And he said, I genuinely didn't know what to do when I scored because I don't score that often. So I just celebrated like a child, which I thought was absolutely sensational considering his knee slide was a 10 out of 10. And then, to come and sit down with me and to chat about, what Sunderland had done and obviously about his long throws as well and likening himself to Robert Delap, I thought was just sensational. So, yeah, great bloke, but a fantastic moment where he's just staring at the fans and thinking, you know what? This is for you guys. This isn't for us. We'll just go back to the drawing board and we'll take on the next team that come up against us. But you guys go and enjoy this night in West London and the trip back to Wearside. Tremendous stuff.
Yeah, and he talked about telling his mate Kylian Mbappe about it all as well.
You know what? He kind of held back. I thought I was going to get more of a zinger from him on this one, but yeah, the Mbappe thing, obviously, it's just fantastic, isn't it? To hear the fact that Nordy is just picking up the phone to Kylian. And they don't talk about Sunderland, incessantly, I imagine. But just to hear Kylian go, yeah, you guys have got off to a good start. This is Kylian Mbappe, for God's sake, the World Cup winner, one of the best players in the world, Real Madrid superstar, saying, Sunderland have got off to a good start, haven't they? To Nordy and him going, yep. Just sensational stuff. Yep. Like I said, the stories just keep coming out, man. It's one of them seasons.
Yep, he'll be on Seaburn Beach getting some cheesy chips before we know it. Kylian with his mates.
Playing as Sunderland Football Manager, man, it'll be fine.
Well, I think the talk of Kylian Mbappe is a good place to have a quick break. We'll be back after these couple lads.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox Disinfecting Wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
And welcome back to How Are the podcast. And just to continue through some of those games that you've covered, Andy, we played Everton at home on the Monday Night Football at the beginning of this month. First half was potentially one of the worst, 45 minutes of the season. That was before Fulham, though. But do you think actually with this side, we're talking about how, everything was positive and all this, but do you think there might be an emphasis at some point on dealing with the pressure of expectation after getting in a position like that?
I think so, to an extent, but I think they're shielded away from it. I think with the players that Sunderland have, with the mentality that they have, the likes of Granit, and I'll come on to Granit now, because I thought one of the things that he said in his post-match interview about that was absolutely so revealing. The fact that the first 25 minutes, we played like we trained the last 25 minutes of our last training session, and that is not good enough. They are not our standards. That is not the standard of the Premier League, and we will get punished if we play like that. And you know what? I think I was actually going to mention this. That was probably one of the biggest things to happen to Sunderland this season, because it was just a little kick up the backside to say, you can't get away with that. And I thought, yes, first half, pretty poor. Pretty poor. They were outrun, they were outworked, they were outfought by a decent Everton side. They were okay. I don't think they were anything special, to be honest. But then second half, you saw the difference. You saw the fact that, they got in the changing rooms. Granit had a word. Regis obviously had a word in his quiet way. And that was a different side. And to see the Jekyll and Hyde performance there that takes, that's what you kind of come to expect from a good Premier League team that can have a terrible 20, 25 minutes and turn it round like that. I thought that was one of the biggest moments in the season, because I thought to myself at half-time, this is a really big test now for Sunderland. Unbeaten at home, against an Everton side that have got their tails up. Obviously, Jordan's back at the Stadium of Light as well. This is a really big test. Are they going to be crap again second half, or are they going to turn it round? And to see them turn it around, I genuinely thought they should have won that game as well. I thought that was very, very revealing of what this Sunderland side is all about right now. It's more than just how you can play in patches. It's how you can recover mentally from such a bad start and such a bad training session by all accounts. I don't know what they were doing in the last 25 minutes. I'm very intrigued to know if they were just, kicking balls at each other or what. But Granit was furious about it. He stomped into the post-match press conference, and you thought, this is a guy that his standards are up here. They're not. There's not even a ceiling. They're above the ceiling. They're into the sky somewhere. And I sat down with Granit 1-to-1 3 days later, actually on the Wednesday, and I asked him about that and said, and he said, I'm still angry now. I'm still angry now about that opening 25 minutes. And the players were as well. Everyone in that dressing room were furious at what we put out in the opening 25 minutes, but we turned it round and we should have won, but we didn't. And now we move on to Arsenal. And you just think, when Granit Xhaka speaks, everyone listens. Everyone listens. He's one of those players that walks into a room and he's got an aura. He's got a respect around him. Even when I was just chatting to him yesterday, very, very briefly at the Academy of Light, I'm just like, it's Granit Xhaka, isn't it? I don't get starstruck at all, because I just see them as human beings and everything. But there is just an aura around the man that you just immediately respect in the way that he looks at you, makes eye contact, shakes your hand, talks to you, wants to know about you, whether you're a camera up, a player, a manager, a fan, whoever it is, he cares. And it all matters to him. And I thought he was obviously getting the equaliser. He was the catalyst behind that recovery. And I thought that recovery propelled them beautifully into Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, you were in a good position to ask him about singing along to Can't Help Falling in Love with You. But do you think it's even surprised him how much he's got into the club?
Yeah, I do. I think he's quite an open-minded sort of person, is Granit. And I think that I knew why he was coming here. He was coming here because he wanted to test himself once again in the Premier League. He wanted to challenge himself in a situation where, Sunderland, let's not beat around the bush, were originally going to be one of the favourites for relegation. He wanted to come in and see what this was all about, and obviously he was intrigued by the project. So to come in and to be, to kind of assimilate so well with the club and the community as quickly as he has, that wasn't such a surprise to me. But I think to the extent that he's done that, to the extent of singing along to, kind of falling in love with you, I just think that is a moment where you go, right, okay, he gets it. He really, truly gets it. And I thought his answer to that, and yeah, I like how you kind of turned my questions before out of the box questions. They're kind of my bread and butter because I'm not good enough to ask the intelligent questions, but I will ask about what's happening on social media or the captain singing along to Elvis Presley. I thought that answer when he was talking to me about it was just beautiful. The fact that, he knows how much that song resonates with Sunderland fans and with Sunderland as a city and as a community as well. And he just lost himself in the moment. And I like that because a football player can be accused of almost being robotic in the way that they say take each game as it comes, each game at a time. We'll just focus on the next game and all of that. But to lose himself emotionally like that in that moment, I just thought was a real reflection on who Granit Xhaka is as a person and the type of captain he is as well. He doesn't just lead from a front on the pitch, he leads from a front off the pitch too in everything that he does. And I thought, yeah, you're right, Chris. I thought at that moment, I think even he kind of half realised to himself, well, hang on a second, I'm really immersed here. I'm really in deep with this football club. And it's just fantastic to see, which always makes me laugh then when transfer rumours come out. It's just like, the next day, isn't it? Like, you get linked to Juventus. It's like, he ain't going to Juventus. He is more than happy at Sunderland right now. He's got everything he wants, everything he needs. His family's happy, he's happy, and he's doing an absolutely incredible job. I think when he signed, everyone was like, that could be a real statement signing, but we'll see. Yeah. And now I don't think there's any doubts over how much of a statement signing. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best signing of the season in the Premier League. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, let's quickly move on to the Arsenal game. And you posted some pictures around the Remembrance Day proceedings. But in general, I mean, Sunderland have been really clever in how they've ramped up everything around every home game so far this season.
Yeah, I think I said to you on the first or second time I was on the podcast, that game against West Ham where you kind of come out, and obviously I know what your kind of pre-match routines are and the order of things and everything, but hearing the noise and seeing the tifo against the West Ham game, seeing the fans interact, that was just spine tingling. I don't think it had anything on the Arsenal game, and I have to say credit to the Arsenal fans as well on this. Wearside, absolute, this Wearside, like fantastic stuff, like incredible to get, the Arsenal fans involved, to get, the Sunderland fans all involved. The fact that it was an entire stadium thing was just unbelievable. But to have that all the way around the stadium on such a poignant day as that as well, or a poignant weekend, I thought really allowed people to see outside of Sunderland and outside of even the Premier League just what Sunderland are like as a club and as a community. I mean, the work that This Is Wearside put into that, nothing short of utterly remarkable. And the same with War Flags on this side of the water as well, where, forget about allegiances, forget about clubs and rivalries and everything. I think when it's a fan-led organisation like that, I just have to tip my hat to every single person who gets involved, to make those sorts of displays happen. And I think I put on TikTok and social media, it is, that is one of the best displays I think I've ever seen. The fact that the Arsenal fans got involved too, but the time and the care and the attention that they paid to it. And it resonated with the players as well, Chris. It really resonates with the players to see the level of care and attention that goes into it, and the noise, obviously, that we come to expect now from the Stadium of Light too. So, yeah, an incredible, incredible sight. I have to say, the club, the connection now between the club and the community is at such a level that I'm excited genuinely to go to the Stadium of Light all the time, whether it's Arsenal at 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday night, Bournemouth at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, Newcastle against Sunderland on a Sunday afternoon. These sorts of games I'm just excited to go to because I just love kind of hearing the music come out. I love seeing the reactions of the players come out. One of the early games of the season when Luke O'Nien wasn't in the squad, I think he was sat with his daughter to the left-hand side, and he was just to Republica ready to go. And he was just kind of sat there with her on his knee, and he was just dancing her up and about. And you just think, there's the connection, isn't it? There's the connection between the fans, between the players, between the club. And I just think the club have done such a wonderful job this season in just understanding what it means to drag that community closer, to create this power, to create this kind of just assault on the Premier League. And it's such a powerful force. I'm sorry to sound so theoretical and so whimsical here, but it is such a powerful force to see a club and a community unite. And Sunderland have got it nailed on this season from a fan perspective, from a display perspective, from a club perspective, club officials, the community, everyone involved, and it's been a huge reason why Sunderland is still unbeaten at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah. And I know you're dashing off to catch up with a few of the players this afternoon, so I don't want to keep you for too much longer. But just quickly on the manager's press conferences, Regis Lapris, he seems like an expert in answering questions with a straight bat. Do you think he frustrates a few from maybe the national media because he gives so little away?
Yeah, I mean, he if he wasn't French, he'd do a good job for England out in Australia at the moment, wouldn't he? It'd be nice if one of us laid a straight bat on it, apart from Stokes.
Just longer than 5 minutes would do.
Yeah, that would be absolutely lovely. Going back to your question, yeah, probably a little bit. There's been some interesting times in press conferences when he has answered it very straight back, as you said, and they've kind of gone back with another question, short answer, another question, short answer, another question. It's like, he ain't giving you anything. Just move on. But you know what? He's been really, really good to deal with, Chris, because he always has this kind of like half smile on his face when he's answering a question, especially the kind of more out of the box sort of questions as well. But he's been really, really good to deal with as Regis. And I think that I mentioned this on the last podcast, just how good he's been tactically about how quickly he can change things very, very quickly in terms of mid-game. But I think in terms of how he's dealt with the media and how he's dealt with the players, he's never up, he's never down, he's just that. He's just calm. Whether win, lose or draw, he's very calm. He was the same after the Arsenal game as he was after the Chelsea game, as he was after the Fulham game. You can see this, I wouldn't want to cross him necessarily, but he's been very, very calm about a lot of things. And you can see that in the press conferences, in his answers. I mean, some of the national media, I think there is a kind of I would have liked to get more out of him, and a little bit of a disappointment there. But I think he gives he drops little nuggets in there to continue that food theme from before, like naming the next period of the season as the main course. I thought was just a lovely, lovely thing to say, a lovely way to look at it. And it gave a little insight into what he's like as a person as well as a manager. He mentioned the fact that when you were going to Old Trafford, that his son, was a Manchester United, he follows Manchester United. And he had a bit of a laugh about that. So while he'll talk tactics and while he'll talk, his favourite word, I think, is identity. I think he's mentioned the word identity to me about 150 times in press conferences.
Connections is another good one.
Connections is a very, very good one. He'd be good at the New York Times quiz, would Regis Lapris. I imagine he does it every morning. But yeah, identity and connections are the two buzzwords for him. But when he's not talking about that, he just drops little things in. But you've just got to be so attentive in the press conference, which is why I quite like it, because you can't switch off. You can't just, I've done my bit, I'll just go on, update Twitter. I've stopped now updating Twitter in press conferences because I'm like, I'd prefer just to listen to what Regis has got to say. And I think that's much, much better. Obviously, that kind of, I don't really deal with X. I keep calling it Twitter. I don't deal with X. I'll come out and do my TikTok where I'll come straight out the press conference and slip over or mislay my car or whatever the hell I'm doing. But it's one of those things where I'm like, the better stuff comes a little bit later on when he drops them in. He's a great person to deal with, is Regis. I've got a lot of time for him. He's a fascinating individual, very intelligent man. And yeah, he's had the national media running off a little bit, chasing a couple of straight bats.
Yeah, well, you come in at just the right time because it kind of goes injury list, opposition, and then it comes round to you. And we've had Taylor Swift, players on social media. We've had the topic of the bridge, lettering on the stand.
Yeah, there's no, honest to God, Chris, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just because I've run out of ideas. That's all.
I was going to say, you do get interesting responses. Like the lettering on the stand led to him saying this all goes into the pot for the identity of the club. So just sometimes an out the box thing, he actually gives you an insight into what they're thinking.
Yeah, and it's the same with the players. It's not just Regis, Chris. It's the players as well. Like I won't hear a lot of people asking Nordy what he was thinking when he's looking at the Chelsea fans, or I won't hear a lot of people maybe asking Granit about singing along to Elvis Presley after a game. And that's the sort of thing that Chris Rigg got this perfect, right? I'm going to drop Riggy in it. We were early. Well, we were on time, kind of, but we were in reception at the Stadium of Light waiting for his interview. We were upstairs in one of the hospitality suites. And I'll be honest, I've never met Chris Rigg before. And he came to reception. I was just signing in my car reg into the Stadium of Light car park. And I noticed someone just appeared to the right-hand side. I didn't look up. And the receptionist said, yep, can I help you? And he went, I'm here for an interview. And the receptionist was like, all right, who? He goes, oh, Chris Rigg. He's like, all right, okay. And I looked up and I was like, this is absolutely brilliant. This is cool. I looked up and I was like, oh, Chris, hi, I'm Andy from Premier League. Lovely to meet you. I'm doing your interview. And we were waiting downstairs for like 10, 15 minutes. So we just chatted about so much, like so many different things. Obviously, it's England under 19 duty, it's captaincy, the weather, pre-season, all of that, the players. Like we chatted about Omar Alderete and that absolutely incredible moment for Paraguay where he got sent off as an unused substitute, which I thought was absolutely sensational. But one of the things that he said straight away was, I think people just forget that, well, we're just human. We just like to talk about the social media stuff. We like to talk about the fun stuff as well as what our tactics are going to be ahead of Fulham at the weekend. And I think people just tend to forget that, which is where if I can do a service where I'm just there, updating, doing my TikToks or whatever, there's a Belton one coming out, which it's not a fun one. It's one of the most powerful stories I think I've ever been told as a broadcaster. It's going to be coming out over the next day or so. I won't give too much away. But we sat down with Reinildo yesterday and he genuinely told me one of the most incredible things that I think I've heard. But Chris is completely right. Whether it's, getting into these stories, I like the fact that, the players feel like they can talk about that sort of stuff and they want to. And that leads to sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes being a really, really good answer. And if it allows them to be themselves and if it allows them to show the fans that, you know what, we're just like you, we just played football for a living. I think I've done my job somewhere along the line. It's not about me getting the best question because 9 times out of 10 I don't, usually 10 times out of 10 in fairness. But it's more about giving the players a platform to actually prove who they are and to show that they're just normal, just good, normal, straightforward people who are just really excited to play for Sunderland Football Club and excited to get involved with the community. So if I can do that with them or with Regis in the press conferences about the lettering on the stadium or, Regis Le Bridge or whatever the hell it might be, I still haven't got a good answer about them about that. And look, I go home a happy man and I go home knowing that the fans, even though you can't necessarily see the interviews in the UK, usually, even then, I like to think that, the fans are getting something out of it. So that's the main job because the fans are obviously the lifeblood of football at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we've kept you far longer than we'd intended, so
it's
apologies
right,
for that. But we'll just give a last word because you've mentioned it once already. But we do have the derby coming up. But I just imagine as a journalist who's flipping between the two, I mean, I bet you just can't wait for the two to come together and have that atmosphere.
I tell you what, I tell you, I can wait for it. I think Newcastle, given the away form at the moment, which is absolutely very, very poor indeed. Yeah, I mean, look, that's just going to be a great day. Sorry to put my sitting on the fence hat on here, but that is just going to be an absolutely cracking day for the North East. I know there was the FA Cup game, but that ain't the same as playing in the league. No one can ever tell me anything different. The fact that Sunderland against Newcastle as a derby we haven't seen in years and years and years and years. It's the first fixture not just Sunderland Newcastle fans look out for. It's one of the first fixtures we look out for at the Premier League in the sense that that's one of the biggest derbies in the country. It's incredible. And what Granit was telling me about it the other week, what a couple of the players have been speaking about it as well. It's quite far in the distance for now. It's a couple of weeks away. But it's one of those which is just going to be an incredible day for North East football. And I genuinely cannot wait for it, especially given the fact that I'm missing the St. James's Park derby in March because I'm getting married on that day out in South Africa. So that's going to be an interesting day. We're going to have a TV screen out there because half the family are Sunderland, half are Newcastle. So that's going to lead to half my family being happy, half not being so happy on my wedding day, which I think would have happened anyway. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. But honestly, it's going to be such a good day. It's just one of those things where it's like you just hope that everything goes off without a hitch away from the football as well, that we don't see any of the crazy scenes that maybe we've seen in years gone by as well. But honestly, what a day for the fans and what a day for the players as well. The players are going to absolutely love it on both sides, Sunderland and Newcastle. They're going to absolutely love that day. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I just can't wait for is pre-match. I cannot wait to see the two teams come out on Derby Day. Don't know if it's going to be display, not sure. Imagine there'll be something along those lines. I just can't wait to see that. And Yeah, with my North East Premier League reporter's hat on, Chris, 1-1 would be absolutely lovely.
Well, to be honest, I think that there's quite a few people out there either side who might snap your hand off for that.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. At the moment, I think Sunderland would want to win it, given Newcastle's form. But yes, 1-1. Actually, no, screw it. 5-5. Entertaining draw, not a 1-1. 5-5. Let's go.
Yeah, 3 games between now and then, so plenty of time to change that. But that's a brilliant place to leave on. And I just want to say thanks again, Andy, for taking your time out. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
no worries,
and we're going into speak to a couple of players later today.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to it. They're not interviews; it's more like media access stuff. So it's when they do their messages and everything. But it's a couple of the players who I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing. They're perfect for this. But once again, thank you for having me on, and just continue the great work that you guys do. You are absolutely sensational to listen to every single week. It's great to hear, even if you get me surname wrong.
I'm keeping it in. I deserve everything I get for that.
It's all right,
to be honest, I could patch it up, but I'll not bother. But anyway, thanks very much. We really appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, fella. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. And thanks again, everyone, for listening. Of course, we'll have all the build-up this week to the Bournemouth game, either on the Rock Report website or our daily releases on How We're the Podcast. But from us, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.